So if we look, this is the default resonance of 190, that's what the panel was stretched to apparently in this setup. I had to correct it every now and then, as you've seen in the video, but as you can see they're all quite close. So that's that. Now let's see, this is the first one. That's the panel with 2 wires in the middle of the gap. This looks not so good, and the thing is, I'm not so sure this, my big panels have the same configuration in terms of wires, but it definitely doesn't look like this. It doesn't. This huge thing here is not there, so I'm not quite, I'll say this is nice to compare them to each other, but this doesn't represent my big panels at this moment, so I'm not sure what the thing is. It might be just the pure size of it. I know this part will rise if you make the panel bigger. I mean, this is normal for such a small panel. It's the baffle roll off and such. But then still, there is this weird thing. There is something in the bigger panels, but not as extreme as this is. So I'm not sure what it is. But yeah, this is the first panel we measure. It's the wires in the middle. I'm not sure if it's the first panel because I might have done it in a different order, but this is panel 1. Then I did panel 2. It had 2 wires as well, but they're spaced out a little bit. And you can see that it becomes smoother. Not this weird thing here. But it loses output as well because the wires are not perfectly in the strongest magnetic field. Then panel 3. Panel 3 has 3 wires and is kind of a combination of panel 1 and 2. Panel 1 had 2 wires, but running in the middle. This had 2 wires spaced out, and this one, panel 3, has 3 wires spaced out. So 1 wire in the middle and 2 on the sides. You can see the pink one is that, and it's kind of a combination of panel 1 and 2. But by the looks of it, panel 2 looks a little bit better in response, and panel 3, since it had 3 wires in parallel, it should have a slightly more output than panel 2, but I'm not seeing this here, so not sure if this just doesn't happen, although it should, or something went wrong, but I have no clue what. So then panel 4 is the same configuration as panel 3, but to get a little bit higher resistance I used a thinner gauge wire in the middle part and 2 of the same wires used as in panel 1 and 2 on the sides, spaced out. And that one, if I remove panel 2 and panel 1, that one, panel 4, which has the same sort of configuration but a higher resistance, has more output. So I think the pink one, in output terms, maybe something went wrong. I can maybe look if I changed something. Panel 3, would that be? No, I didn't change anything in terms of shifting the frequency response or something. So this is the raw data. But yeah, that looks weird, don't you think? I mean, why is 2 wires of a certain gauge with 1 wire that is a thinner gauge all in parallel, why would it give a higher output than 3 of the same thick gauge wires in parallel? It has a lower resistance, so it should have received more power. But yeah, this is what it is, so I have no clue what that might be. So panel 4 looks quite okay as well, actually. Panel 4 might be looking better than panel 3, and also better than panel, no, almost as good as panel 2, except that panel 2 has less output. and far better than panel 1. So that's all at the 190 resonance, and then I changed the resonance to 140 to see what happens if you drop it. So I'll just grab panel 1 and compare it with panel 1 with a lower resonance of 144. It's this one. You can see the resonance dropped. But what you also can see is this weird thing shifted lower in frequency as well. And this is the same trend, I think, for the other panels. So let's see panel 2 at 190, and let's see if we can get the panel 2 lower resonance. This one. But it's panel 3, sorry. Where's panel 2? It is kind of a mess, but panel 1, this was panel 2. Something weird again is, why does the lower resonance panel 2 have a little bit more output than the higher resonance panel 2? I have no clue. Also, it looks quite okay actually, and as you can see, it reaches to 20k. But that's completely not what we expected, to be honest. So really have no clue what's happening there. If we look at distortion, it has a higher distortion panel to the 140. This one. It has slightly higher distortion than the 190 resonance, I believe. Yeah, this is 190. This is all within 0 point something in the third harmonic, even 0.0 something. And with low resonance it's 0 point, and it actually hardly ever drops below 0.0. Well, you can see it here. This looks insane amount of distortion, but we're talking third harmonics 0.3. It's still not much, but it's way more than let's say this one, which is like 10 times as low, except for this peak. So higher resonance gives us a little bit better, less distortion. But apparently lower resonance does smooth out the response in this case, which is kind of weird because I thought it would be otherwise. Let's check another panel if it's doing the same trend. So let's get panel 3 for instance. Panel 3 low resonance does extend. Panel 3 high resonance, well, it is smoother again, the lower resonance part, but they both actually kind of extend to 20k. If we look at distortion, panel 3 has some peaks in the low resonance version versus the high resonance version. There's a peak here, but doesn't change that much. There's some crap going on here, but wow, it's okay. So, but the data is quite hard to interpret. Is that an English word? I don't know. Especially because the normal simplest panel with this result is actually not what I'm getting in the big panel, so that's kind of weird, isn't it? So what I also did, because I was measuring at the same spot anyways, I thought, my cat is tweaking. It's like acting weird. I used aluminium, I slitted in an earlier video. So if this is let's get the best panel we had. I think it was panel 3 or 4. Let's take 3. at 190 resonance, and then I made a panel with aluminum foil, 2.8mm wide foil, 12 micron thick. Also on a 190 resonance panel. Aluminum foil. Where is it? There it is. There it is. It has more output, which is weird. And it extends to 20k, but it has this weird dip here. But besides that, it looks quite okay. Let me see if I can get the distortion version. This one. Well, not bad at all. 0.0345 in the third harmonic, and then it goes up. You think it goes up, but it's still 0.084 in the third harmonic, which is really low. And after this, we cannot measure the third harmonic anymore, because I measured up till 20k. You can see this peak here is mainly a second harmonic, or mainly, it's like 99%. Oh, actually even more. It says, no wait, it says second harmonic is 0.672%, and total harmonic distortion, so all harmonics together, are 0.673. So 0.001% is the rest of the orders of harmonics. So it's actually only second harmonic. Well, second harmonic, we're not very prone to hearing that, so I didn't hear it. But it's quite hard with a sweep, I mean. It's not very musical. But then again, I don't see this distortion here, I don't see it in the plot either. Usually you will see some indication, but I don't see anything there, so I'm not sure what it is. But this one is pretty low in distortion. Then I made a new panel with a slightly wider aluminum foil. It's this one. And well, same story. Very low distortion, very low. Although it doesn't look as nice as some other plots, it is actually quite good. It's mainly because the output is a little bit more. So it's hard to read distortion plots. You really have to look at the numbers, because if you just look at the plot, there are plots that the output is less and this distortion looks flatter, but it's always a percentage of the output. So if the output is less, and this is also less in this drawing, but still it could be a way bigger percentage of the original signal than, for instance, this ragged looking plot. So it's quite hard to read those plots, or at least it's not hard to read them. You can see clearly where maybe some stuff is going on, but if you have to compare them, then it becomes kind of tricky and a mess, to be honest. So yeah, aluminum does work well as well. Then I decided to tape off the sides of the panel, because there's some undriven area there. And then I received this plot, and as you can see, it's the same panel, but yeah, it's a lot flatter, so that helps a lot. Weighting down the undriven area, so the piece of mylar on the sides that is not that does not have a wire on it or aluminum foil, tape it off or something. At least don't let it play along. I noticed this on the big panels as well. I taped the sides off as well there. I gained a lot of output in this region. I think you can see it here as well. This one, and where is the other one? There. Yeah, you can see there becomes more output here as well. So apparently, it's also where the distortion is. there's some sort of breakup here. I can put them alongside each other, that will be better. So purple one is with the sides taped off, and you can see it will erase gain here. It also lowers these humps, and also decrease the null here. So it's another thing it does apparently is raise the yeah, well, that's quite. It also raises the resonance a little bit, which is understandable, kind of. But yeah, so that helps. Then I did some way higher resonance tests as well, just to be sure. So I got 3 data points. So this is panel 1 with the simplest panel with the wires. Then I'll get in the higher resonance version, which is this one, 300 something, and it looks quite okay. But as you can see, it shifted more to this side. So what I see mainly is stretch it so hard this peak will go over here. But in this case, I'm not sure if that's reachable. I mean, we're at 8K. It's another 8K or maybe 12K to go, which is quite a lot. I got one panel that I did manage that, but that's the panel that you've seen in the video where I stretched it a gazillion times because it broke very, very often. There I managed to stretch it so hard this peak will be here, and then yeah, it's quite decent. Well, these panels I gave him away to a friend of mine for his birthday, so he might make a system out of it. I bet he will. But he has the only panels that breaches 20K. Then lastly, it's probably already very long, yes. I made a few panels. Oh well, let's see with this high resonance what other panels did. Real quick. Panel 1, high resonance. Panel 2, high resonance. Panel 3, high resonance. And where's panel 4? Apparently I lost panel 4, high resonance. Okay. So there's some sort of trend. They all got a peak here. The ones with yeah, this is panel 1, has a peak here. Panel 2 does have a peak, but slightly more in this region. Panel 3, which has a wire in the middle again, looks again with a peak similar to panel 1. We've seen this in the other measurements as well. Panel 1 looks quite similar to panel 3 and 4 because they have a wire in the middle of the gap. And this is apparently something that you get if you put the wire in the gap, this weird peak at around 8-9K. Then what I did it also with aluminum foil. This is a higher resonance with aluminum foil, and I'll get the original there as well. Yeah, looks kind of the same except that it creates a peak again, but this time at 11K. So this could be notched away, by the way, but that's all more work. Rather not notch anything. But yeah. And then I did some very funny, weird stuff. I thought, well, I'll just glue some honeycomb on the front of panel 1 and see what it does. So this was panel 1 in the basic form. Then I'll glue honeycomb to it, and you can see the output drops because it's getting heavier, so it's less efficient. but this thing here goes away. So now it follows a normal expected trend. That should rise a little bit still, but it falls off earlier as well because it's more heavy, and also this extension could be also the reason because of some sort of resonance or breakup. But as you can see, it doesn't extend as far, but it does look smoother. And if you look at distortion, then it should look smoother as well. Yeah, so this is panel 1 in normal mode. Distortion, meh. Then you have with Honeycomb, distortion, off the grid kind of almost for me. The only thing is, if you look around here and look for percentages, then you might notice, well, you might notice, but I notice, is that percentages are still in favor of this panel, although it looks shit. And this is where I talked about earlier. This one has more output than this one, and it's always a percentage of the output signal. So this one might look crappier, but it has still lower distortion as this one. And I tested it. If I raised the volume for this kind of panel that had like a really smooth distortion plot but still had more distortion, if I raise the volume, then the distortion goes down. So it's actually purely a problem of noise floor. I should have measured it all a little bit louder even, then it would be better comparable. Now this one has really good distortion, but it's in the noise floor almost. And yeah. So for next time, I think. Well, these are the measurements, and there's too bad there is not like something like a real conclusion I can make out of it. It's too much, and there's not one that looks perfect. And also because my big panels doesn't compute with this monstrosity, I'm not sure how well I can trust or use this information. The thing I should do, but it's quite a lot of work, is remove the wires from my big panel and try one of these other ones and see what happens. Actually, probably the foil. Try the foil one and see what happens. I'm really not looking forward to it because it's a lot of cleaning. Then try it, and then when it sucks, I have to redo everything again. So yeah. And also I want the panels as they are sound really nice, so I'm afraid I fuck it up and I have to start over again. I feel strongly the urge to buy new metal and just make a new panel to test it on and keep these as they are, because they sound nice, and yeah, they sound just nice. And if the wood came in, the trims, I'll just gonna finish them, I think. So yeah. Hard. Choices are hard. I don't like choices. Or at least making them. Well, that's it. A long video and probably boring, but I have no idea how to do this otherwise in a shorter amount of time. Talk less, but then yeah, you have no clue what you're looking at, so see you around, subscribe shit and stuff. I only need like another 550 people. That's it.